I always feel it's so miraculous that our little church right in the middle of Virginia Beach attracts these amazing people, including our speaker today. We are so blessed to have Ravi, I'm going to try it, Mukkamala. And now, I met Ravi by a miraculous synchronicity. John Alston, and some of you know, because he often plays the piano here, and I were at a dinner for the Judeo-Christian Outreach Center, which serves the homeless. And we were sitting at a table, and this man comes along, and he has a book with him with a picture of Sai Baba. And we said, oh, we recognize that person. And we introduced ourselves, and he introduced ourselves. And as it is, you know, when we find somebody who's really special, we try to bring them home. And so we brought Ravi home with us, and he felt that he had come home when he came here. And we welcomed him and his wife, and we have had him speak quite a few times ever since, and we're fortunate to have him today. And today is a real wonderful ecumenical service because, you know, it's the Jewish New Year, and Ravi is a disciple of Sai Baba. And I just want to say another synchronicity thing happened. I was looking for something in one of the offices of the fellowship, and I saw a whole pile of books by about Sai Baba. And so I put them out in the entrance hall, and if anybody who would like to take a book about Sai Baba, please feel free to take it, and only take it if you're going to read it. Don't take it just to have a little book, but it's really a beautiful story about Sai Baba, and it's very inspiring, so please be free and to take it and really enjoy it. And we're really ecumenical today because Ravi is going to talk about St. Francis. So we've got all cultures. I mean, when we say we're an interfaith church, we're really there. So Ravi has been initiated into spirituality through the Satya Sai Center of Hampton Roads, where he has held several positions for the last 25 years. He owes his gratitude to his divine master, Bhagavan Satya Sai Baba, for his guidance and grace. Professionally, he is a professor and chair in the Department of Computer Science at Old Dominion University, where he has been teaching for the last 35 years. He has also been a member of the Fellowship of the Inner Life for the last 4 years. I guess we met 4 years ago. That's really neat. And his title today is Love, Prayer, and Humility, Life and Message of St. Francis of Assisi. Welcome, Ravi. Let's welcome Ravi.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Good morning. Thanks for inviting me to share my excitement about St. Francis of Assisi and his message. In fact, his life was his message. And before I start, I would like to thank Sri Satya Sai Baba, our Lord, who has put me into this path. And he is really the reason why I'm here. So I really want to thank him for that. And I also want to thank Bruce, actually. Believe it or not, it's just a coincidence once again. About a year ago, I was listening to one of his Zoom talks. And at the end of it, he said, I'm going to share something from the Little Flowers of St. Francis. And he read a conversation between St. Francis and Leo. That's all. Until then, I was not so excited about St. Francis. But when I heard that, that was really very touching to me. So, you know, thanks to Amazon, I immediately went and bought the book. And I read the book. I was really excited. And of course, I read more. And so that is really, so I should really, in some sense, I should thank Bruce for introducing me to St. Francis of Assisi. Okay? Thank you, Bruce. So obviously, I only have half an hour. And his life was 45 years. St. Francis lived from 1181 to 1226, so just 45 years. But within 45 years of life, he has achieved so much, and he has really changed the lives of so many people and continue to change even today. So let's see what happens. So I have several topics. We'll see what we can cover in the next half an hour. Okay. So some of you may know about him, some of you may not. So the beginning is basically he is from Assisi, Italy, and he is the son of a very rich silk merchant. So he had wonderful life, young man. You know how the young people who are rich, they behave. So that's exactly what he was. He was a party goer, dancing, singing. That's all his life was at the beginning. And amazingly, you know, God has a way to transform each of us. Very special way. And how this young man who was so bubbling with excitement and having all these parties suddenly became Saint Francis. So, again, in those days, being a knight or a soldier was the thing to do. And therefore, he wanted to be a knight. So, when there was a war with the neighbors, Perugia, he decided to go and fight. He was just a young man of 19 years or something like that. So, he went and fought. And unfortunately, they lost. So, he was prisoned. And again, unlike today's prisons, those prisons were really like dungeons. They were in sort of a cave, and they were all shackled, and not much food to give him. And he really went through a lot of tough time during those 1 year. And the only way to get out of the prison was his father or somebody has to pay ransom to release the prisoners. That's what the deal was in those days. And for some reason, his father, even though he's rich, did not pay. For some reason, again, I think it is divine, really divine thing that he did not pay. So during the 1 year, suddenly, somehow he was frustrated with life because of all the suffering he's going through in the prison. And so finally his father paid the ransom. So he was released. But even though he came back home, he was still in the state of, he lost interest in life completely. So it's a complete 180 degrees transformation from what he was before and now. But slowly, his parents now tried to sort of give him special attention, and things were going on. And so as he was just becoming normal, again, Rome called for an army to go and, against people who are not Christians, to go and fight against them. So once again, his knight thoughts came again. He said, I'm going to fight. So again, he got the horse ready, he got everything ready, and the parents are excited because now at least he's showing interest in something. Because until then he was just, just sleeping. That's all he was doing. So he was all ready, excited. With other young men from Assisi, he went. And on the way to Rome, they stopped at a place called Spoleto, and they rested there. And this is a big transformation, what happened. So what happened was, when they were sleeping, Francis had a dream in which God spoke in the dream and told him, Francis, would you like to serve the master or the servant? That's all the God asked him. And in the dream, Francis said, of course, the master. Then the God in the dream said, then what are you doing here? Go back. And you will get a message as to what you should do with your life. And when he woke up, this is what surprised me. When he woke up, it is just a dream. So why should you care? And your ambition is to be a knight. But again, we have to understand. Again, we all have our own experiences. When God speaks to us, whether through inner voice or through a dream, he speaks so convincingly that we just cannot refuse not to do the instructions that he does. That's exactly how he does. How he does, only he knows. So in the morning he gets up and he says, forget about this, I'm going back. He very well knows that he is really feeling he is going to be shamed when he goes back. Everybody thinks he's a weak guy, and everybody thinks he's afraid of war. But he did not care, because God's words were more important for him. So he came back, and as expected, everybody treated him very badly. This guy, he went to fight, and then he got frightened and he came back, but he didn't say a single word. And then on, again, he didn't want to do anything. He was just wandering around. And in one of these wanderings, those days, lepers were treated very badly. Leper colony was there far away from the city because they were afraid of, it's a contagious disease. So nobody even wanted to go there. And St. Francis, again, he's just now wandering because he doesn't know what to do with his life. He's waiting for some message to come from God, what to do. And in one of the wanderings, he goes to a leper colony without his knowledge, just goes there. And he's about to give, one leper was there, he was about to give a coin. And the leper wanted something more than a coin. And instantly, without even thinking, he took the leper's hand and kissed it. And believe it or not, for some reason, he felt so much of love in that he couldn't explain how this is such a divine love. Because until then, lepers are not even to be touched or closed like our 6 feet COVID thing. It was much more than 6 feet at that time. And that transformed him. And after that, he spent some more time with the leper colony. He used to serve. And another thing that transformed him is then suddenly he went to a chapel of San Damiano to pray. And as he was praying, suddenly an inner voice or outer voice, whatever you call it, came from there was a Jesus thing above that. And the voice came basically saying that my house is falling apart, go and repair my house. That was the voice he heard. Whether from outside or inside is not clear, but it was very clear to him. And of course, the church itself was falling apart. And so he realized maybe God wants me to repair the church. That's what he thought. But where is he going to get the money from? So, and again, his father is a silk merchant. So most of the time he used to spend traveling. Again, unlike today, they don't have cars. They have to take mules and go all the way. He used to go to France, get the silk, and then get it here and sell it locally. That's his business, and very rich man. So his father was out. So what he does is he goes to the father's shop and finds the most expensive bundle of silk, and goes to the next town and sells it and gets the money, and comes and gives it to the priest of this church, saying that get the house repaired. And the priest very well knows his father, and he knows that this father is a very miserly man, and he doesn't want to spend any money, and he'll be in trouble if he uses the money. So he tells St. Francis, no, I don't want to use this money. That's all. And St. Francis, okay, if you don't want to use this money, I'm going to put it aside. I'm going to put my own effort. And believe it or not, he goes everywhere, tries to get stones to repair the church. And then he even goes to the town and he starts begging. And people started insulting him. People started just, sort of even spitting on him for doing this because he was in rags. And then somehow he was able to get stones and start repairing himself because he thought he has to do it himself. And after some time, what happens is the father returns back and finds what his son is up to. He's just begging all this. And not only that, he was more worried that his son Francis actually stole a bundle of silk, expensive silk, and sold it without his knowledge. He was more upset about that than anything else. So he immediately tries to get hold of him, but he refuses to go. He is hiding in a church. St. Francis is in a church. And within a church, you can't go into the church. That was the rule then. And then what happens? His father finally goes to the city council and complains. I am filing a complaint against my son for stealing. That's what his complaint was. So he must be punished for stealing. And now, of course, he has to come. He comes. And then he goes, now the whole town is here because father is suing, father is putting a case against the son, and he's a rich father. So let's see what's going to happen. Very curious people, all of them come. And then they go there, and the church father, where this is happening, he comes and says, Francis, is it true that you sold it? He says, yes, it is true. And then he said, wait a minute. He goes inside the church and removes all the clothes, because those clothes at this time were warning from his father's money. And he becomes naked. He just is naked, and he throws away the clothes which is from his father, and the money, because the money was not spent. He throws everything at his the biological father, and he says, from now on, I am going to call my father in heaven as my real father. Okay? So this is real transformation that happened in his life. Again, we must all understand that God is a real doer. He just makes us instruments. And he makes us different instruments depending on his will. Okay? And now the next thing is his living, austere living. I mean, obviously, Francis is known for a very simple living. The question is, how did he get this idea that we should live simply? Again, that is an interesting story, another interesting story. There was another young man, Bernard, in the same town. Again, a very rich man, but very rich young man. But only thing is, he went the regular way. He went and had a judicial degree and everything. And he used to watch this Francis, his own companion. He was a friend, when they were all having fun. And suddenly this man is going in rags, and everybody is spitting, and initially he thought he's a madman. He got mental. That's what initially he thought. But as he's observing him, even though everybody is insulting all this man is nicely singing songs, God songs, and just smiling all the time and going around. And this really impressed this Bernard. How can something must have happened that changed this man who can be so patient and so smiling all the time, even though people are abusing him. And so one day, very curiously, he invites Francis to his home. He said, would you please come to dinner with me and stay tonight with me so we can share, our old days. So Francis, of course, comes along. And then they had nice dinner. And then they sleep. And he insisted that we sleep in the same room. So both of them had their own beds. So they were sleeping. And Bernard pretends to sleep because he wants to see what is so special about this Francis. And what Francis does is, of course, he also feigns sleep. And when he knows that Bernard is sleeping, both are right now just pretending to sleep. And then Francis gets up, and the whole night he will be crying, oh God, oh Lord, please come, please come. He's just praying, I love you, I love you. That was only his prayer the whole night. And Bernard, of course, even though he's feigning sleep, he's watching all this. And morning he said, yes, this is him. I'm going to follow him. And he goes to Francis and says, I want to be your companion. He says, well, who am I to tell you that? Let God decide that. Why should I tell you whether you should? Maybe it's not the right thing for you. So let's go to the church, and after the Mass, let's open the Bible. Just open randomly a page and see what Lord has a message for us. So they go to the church, the next door church. They have the Mass, and after the Mass, they request the priest that can you please open the page randomly. And when he opens it reads, if you wish to be perfect, go sell all you own and give it to the poor. That was the first message that they read, randomly opened. They said, maybe this is just random. Let's open another page randomly. So they close the book, randomly open another book, and it says, take nothing for your journey. And they thought, well, as we have done twice, generally we do 3 times. So he said, let's open the 3rd time the book and see what Lord has a message for us. And it says, if you would follow me, deny yourself and take up cross and follow me. Deny yourself. So they knew for sure this is the message. Immediately Bernard says, yes. He's a rich man. He goes back immediately, sells all the property, gives away all to the poor, and he just comes with whatever he's wearing is all that he has. Now I'm yours. And from then on, Francis and Bernard, they started this thing, and they just lived like that. And in fact, Francis, one of his rules is that he told all his friars, they call them friars, instead of devotees or something, they call them friars. He told all of them that go and spread the message of Jesus, the Lord. But whenever you are going, the only thing you have to take, do not take your wallet. Do not take anything. Just have one tunic, that is one gown that they wear. That's all you have to take with you wherever you go. God will take care of everything else. Have trust in Him. And so this is how he started. And believe it or not, this is again not new. Obviously God is taking care of all of us. He has to take care of all of us. There's no question. Different ways, depending on our need, He's taking care of. For example, Sai Baba also says, less luggage, more comfort makes the travel a pleasure. Again, this travel, he doesn't mean traveling to North Carolina or something. Travel means this life itself is a travel. We are just traveling. We started from God, and we are going to God through God. So this is just a journey we are having, whether it is 80 years, 100 years, 70 years, 50 years, doesn't matter. This is just a journey. So in this journey, we should have less luggage is better because it gives us more comfort. That's exactly the principle of Saint Francis of Assisi. And I will simply tell you a small story. These two, again, the friars really amazingly, these people, they followed him. The friars are his disciples. And two of them, so they didn't have anything. Wherever they went, they just traveled by foot. And once they used to stay in churches somewhere. So in two of these friars, when they were going along one of his journeys, they were staying in a church, and it was winter, and it was heavy snow was there. So generally what they do is every day they go out and beg for bread and wine. That's all they do. All of them, that's how they live. Like Buddhist monks also, that's exactly what they live. Every day morning you go out and beg for food, and whatever food you get, you share. That is how they live. That's how these people also lived. And what happened was, because it's a winter and it's all snowed down, there's no movement and there's nothing in the church. So these people were wondering, hey, how is God going to give us? How is God going to give us? Let's just pray to Him. That's all they said. They didn't worry. They just prayed. And of course, see, this is what happens when you pray. God, what He has done is He has put a thought in somebody else in the town, saying, I wonder how, if somebody is there got stuck in this church, I wonder how they are eating. And this gentleman from nowhere, suddenly he gets this thought, he gets some food and goes to this church, which is all full of snow. He goes through this and asks, oh, is there anybody? Is there anybody? Here are these two people, right now in the church. And he gives all the food. And now they realize, oh my God, Lord is really great. He has given us the food. We have been starving. Not only that, this gentleman goes out and tells everybody in that village, saying, oh, two people are there. Can you please help them? Now they have plenty of food. Everybody is coming and dropping off food. This is how Lord works. If only we have that trust. Okay? And I will share you another story of Vivekananda. Vivekananda is also a great saint. And he is the first one actually to come to the West to spread the message of whatever Hinduism has to offer. And they also used to live like that, exactly, no wallet, nothing. So once one king had invited him to come and give a talk. So it is far away. He goes there by train and then he delivers the talk. And the king says, oh, I can buy you a first class ticket. He says, no, I don't want anything. We don't travel by first class. We just travel unreserved. That's how we are. So he comes as a common man, sits in the thing. He's on a travel. He's in the train and going along. Again, these are the long time, 1800s, not comfortable ACs today. And it's a summer, hot summer, North India, very hot. And again, opposite to him is a merchant guy who is sitting again on the next seat, opposite seat. And he started just abusing this, these young people, they have nothing to do, they are not contributing, why they are a pest on the society. He starts off telling, because this guy is wearing a saffron dress, he knows that this guy is not a regular guy who works and makes money. Instead, so he started saying all this. But Vivekananda was just keeping quiet. He didn't say anything. And then time for lunch had come. Of course, this gentleman was ready for this. So he had a nice cool water and then he had a lot of food. He started eating. And because he doesn't like them, he did not want to share any of his food with this young man. Because he hates these people, the renunciants who are pest on the society. So, and then he asks Vivekananda, hey, where is your food? This young man. And he says, well, God will take care of it. Then he even laughs more. Oh, God, you're supposed to take care of all this. What God is going to do for you? And then it stops at a junction. Those days we don't have too many through trains. You have to stop at one place. So both of them got down and both of them took some 2 trees to sit under. And suddenly Now what happens is, one gentleman from the town suddenly comes running with lot of food and comes to Vivekananda and says, "Are you Vivekananda?" I mean his name. He said, "Yes." I mean, this is a new town. He's just on the way somewhere. Oh, and he prostrates in front of him. "Oh, my God, my Lord, I have brought you food," and all that. Then Vivekananda says, "I don't know you. You must be mistaking me for somebody else." He says, No, I did not mistake. I'm a food vendor. And I was taking my afternoon nap. And then his God is Sri Rama. As I was sleeping, Lord Sri Rama came to me in my dream. And actually he kicked on my back. And he told, "When my devotee is in the station, starving, what are you doing sleeping here?" That is what the Lord told me. And he actually feel the kick on the back. And then he immediately gets up. Being a food vendor, he quickly makes food and runs, comes to the station. And Lord has given some indications of who he should look for. So he comes, he serves the food, and now all this is being watched by this merchant. And the merchant is shocked. Then once this is done, merchant comes to this guy and he prostrates. "I apologize. I did not know the power of God until now." So what I'm saying is, so basically whether it is St. Francis Friars or St. Francis or Vivekananda, the story is the same thing. Have trust, he will take care of us. And again, another thing we have to also is, obviously most of the time, Francis spent most of his time in prayers. See, again, at one point he had to make a decision. Should I make time? Should I use my time in contemplation, or should I use my time in spreading the message? Because these two are two different things. Contemplation, you just sit in one place, contemplate on God. Other thing, you have to go move around the people and give a message. So once again, he never made any decision. He always left it to the Lord to tell him what he should do. So again, he meditated, and the message to him was clear: you must spread the message. But he likes meditation. So what he used to do, during daytime, he goes around, spreads the message, talks to people. At night time, the whole night, he'll be meditating. I don't know when he slept. Really, I don't know. Maybe the meditation was sleeping for him. But that is how he was. So in one of his meditations, God revealed to Francis that he dwells in everything. Everything is created by God. Nothing is evil itself. And everything is worthy of reverence and respect because of its creator. So everything has to be revered only because God has created it. And that is why, for example, Sai Baba always says, brotherhood of mankind and fatherhood of God. That's exactly what. And Sai Baba also says, there is no other. There is no other, because everything is you. Because everything is God, you are God, therefore everything is you. So don't say, this is mine, that is somebody else, because everything is God's. Okay? And again, believe it or not, again, when God devotees like this say, they don't know, they are just fools. They can say whatever. Common people will say, "Oh, these people are mad people." I mean, they may be mad of God. But for the regular person, these people are mad people. So, but Einstein, people believe in Einstein because he's the greatest scientist, right? Because scientists say, so we all believe it. If somebody like St. Francis or Sai Baba says, "Oh, he's there just saying it." Scientist Einstein says the following. He says that all that we see is part of one consciousness, and feeling as separate entities is a delusion. So if we are feeling that we are separate from the rest, that is a delusion. The truth is we're all part of one consciousness. And he says the role of religion is to remove this delusion that we are separate. Okay? And again, the fellowship, whatever Sharon spoke today, and Susan sing beautifully. The message is all the same thing. There is only one. There is only one. There is only one. Only thing is now we have to practice it. That's the only thing that is left to us. And again, another story that goes is, This is again interesting because it really tells how much they practiced. See, speaking is one thing, like I am speaking is one thing, but practicing, how important it is. So this is an example of how loving they are and how he really practiced whatever God revealed to him, that all is God's creation. Revere everything. So once what happened is, there is a young friar. In some of the small churches, they are called friars. Friar Angel was the young man in this church, and then 3 people come to this church, and these are murderers and thieves. Okay, they have committed a lot of crimes. They come and knock at this door and say, "We are hungry. Can you give us some food?" And this Friar Angel, being a young guy, he starts abusing them. "Oh, you are all useless fellows, you're all killers, you're all thieves, why you don't even have the right to enter this church, please go away, go away." And the thieves were, these 3 people were very disappointed, even though they are bad people in the sense they kill a lot of people there, but they are hungry at this time. So they were sort of shocked that somebody in this thing is treating like this, but they go away. Then Saint Francis at that time was meditating in a wood behind this church. And in that itself, God has given a message to him that go back now. So he comes to the church back, and then asks, what happened? Because he knows that God told him something has happened. So Friar Angel very proudly says, 3 bad people had come. These people are just bad people. They kill a lot of people. They are thieves. They wanted food. I asked them to go away. Saint Francis said, "Didn't you get my message? All these days we have been talking about love, and there is only one creation. You didn't get a message." He told him immediately. And actually there was some food that they begged that day. There was some bread and wine that they begged. He says, "Take this. I am giving you this command. Take this food, take this bread and the wine, run. You must make sure to go and catch these 3 people. And prostrate in front of them first. First prostrate in front of their thing. And apologize to them for what you have said. And then wait and serve this food to them. Only then you come back, otherwise you are not coming back here." That was the order of Francis. And one good thing with the friars is they obey. They obey Francis. So immediately this gentleman, Friar Angel, runs with this food, with this bread and wine. And because he is running, he somehow catches them. Somehow he is able to catch them. And the moment he gets caught up with them. And immediately he says, "Please wait." And he prostrates, exactly as Francis said. He prostrates in front of them. And he says, "Please excuse me for all that I said." And they are now shocked. Now shock is their part. They are shocked. What is this guy just was abusing us, telling us to get away, and now he is in. And he says, "Please," and then "Please sit down." And he serves the food. And they are really impressed. They said, "Hey, who told you to do this?" Then they said, "Oh, our teacher Francis told us to do this." Then he said, "We must see him. We must see him." And immediately they come back. And they meet Francis. Of course, Francis is very loving, very lovingly. In fact, he tells them, "These are the people you have to speak so lovingly that they will come to the Lord." He tells them. He tells his Friar Angel before that the bad people are the ones you have to speak and treat lovingly so that they will come to the Lord. And that is our purpose. To bring people to the Lord is our purpose. And behaving like this is not the purpose. It's not going to work. And then they come and Francis, in fact, all 3 of them become Francis devotees. They stay back in the church. And 2 of them die early, but the 3rd man stays on, and he becomes a great person. So, see, that is how God does all this. Is just amazing. I know we are just out of time. Can I have 5 minutes? Okay, thank you. Because other thing we have to do is humility. How much humility these people have is just amazing. Again, during the building of the San Dominios, the church, he went about begging because he didn't have any money. He went about begging, and it doesn't matter what people say, what people abuse, it doesn't matter. He wanted only the stones. So he did what even people had spit on him, said all this, he did not care, because he said, God asked me to build the church. That is my only thing. It doesn't matter. Nothing else matters. And so that is really humility. Again, as I said, once again, his the whole life, that's exactly how he lived. Exactly tunic, and one tunic only. Torn clothes, doesn't matter. That's how he lived. And all their living was through begging only. Every day morning they go and beg. And out of the begging, they used to give it to people. Okay? And one day, one of the mothers, one poor mother comes, and she was asking for something. She wanted some help, because she's also. And Francis looked everywhere. They didn't have anything, because they themselves are poor people. She came to the church. What do they give? So there he found a New Testament. New Testament. So he gives the New Testament to the mother. Please sell this and use the money. Please use the money. Because he wanted to give something so that to help her. He didn't have anything else. What else can he give? So he gave the New Testament, the only Bible they had, he gave it away. Please sell it and please use the money for your food. That is the kind of person St. Francis was. And just an amazing person. And in fact, this is maybe a summary of what Bruce had read at that time. Again, I was really impressed with this. This also tells you what a perfect joy is. He is telling this companion Leo once, what is a perfect joy? It's a long story. But at the end, he says like this. He says the end is like this. The end is really the thing. He keeps on saying, this is not perfect joy, that is not perfect joy, that is not perfect joy. Then Leo asks, then what is perfect joy? Then he says, let's say we have been walking all this time. I mean, they have been walking, because those days walking is the only way to go from one. We have been walking and we are all drenched in rain, and it's very cold. We are very hungry. Then we go to our own friar, our own church we go, friary we go. We knock at the door. Here comes the friar, and he says, I don't know who you are. I don't know you who are. Please go away from here. And he abuses us, our own friar. At that time, if you are able to still see divinity and understand that God is speaking through him, that is perfect joy. I mean, think about it. If it's your own friar and your friar is actually abusing you and telling you get out and you are in such a condition, you need some help. And even at that time, if you are able to know that God is giving this command through him, God is telling you this story, this message. If at that time you are able to recognize the God's message which is coming through this, even though it's not palatable to you, that is perfect joy. So, I mean, that was very impressive, I was very happy when I was really, these people are amazing, the friars. Again, Bernard, once he goes somewhere to talk, and then again he's in rags, he sits right in the center of the town, he starts talking. Of course, people, when somebody is in rags, people think he's just some beggar sitting there. So children start throwing stones at him, abusing him, and, somebody pulling his dress, somebody is pulling his cowl, all this stuff. And he doesn't move. Every day he's still pleasant. Every day he comes, sits right in the town center and just starts talking about God. And people are just making fun because he's in such a rags. And one magistrate of the town watches this for a few days and says, so this man must be really amazing guy. These people are making fun of him. He is so pleasant and happy and sharing Lord's message. Something must be special. So he actually talks to him. And then, of course, that is when Bernard says, I am the friar of St. Francis. This is our message. He is so impressed. He says, I am going to give you all this. He actually has a separate property. That property he donates to this to start a new friary there. And now Bernard, until now he was thrown stones at. The moment magistrate honors him, now everybody in the town has high respect for this guy. Now, this is interesting. This is the interesting part I found. So far it is fine. But now, Bernard could not tolerate this high respect that is being given to him. Because people are now treating him as if he is a lord. He could not handle this. He says, this is a sign that God is going to give me ego to him. Because if I continue to stay in this here only, because they are respecting me so much, my ego is going to go up. Then where is the question of all my teachings that I have to follow? And one morning, without anybody's knowledge, midnight, he just leaves. Because if he tells, they won't let him go. So he just leaves without anybody's knowledge. He goes away, goes to St. Francis and says, well, in Bologna, this is what happened. Please send somebody else. I'm not going to go because I'm going to lose what I'm practicing. I'm going to lose because of the high respect they're paying me. I mean, this is real humility, you know. And again, the end is interesting. The end also is interesting. Again, like all the most saints, for example, Ramakrishna Paramahamsa also died of throat cancer, but no pain. No pain means he didn't pay any attention to that. No, his devotees used to feel bad for him because he couldn't eat anything, but he had no care for it. He always thought of God and used to talk about God, even all this. And Ramana Maharshi, another saint, also, he died of shoulder, you know, this was a long time ago, shoulder, he had a cancer in the shoulder. He died of that with extreme pain, no complaints. And in fact, amazingly, when he was asked, when they did a surgery, finally devotees said, sir, we have to do a surgery, we'll bring the doctor. Initially he didn't agree, but finally he said, okay, if you want, bring it. And then, but one condition he told the surgeon is that, you don't give me any anesthesia. He said, don't give me any anesthesia. But at least he agreed to do that. They said, okay. And he did it. They did it. And then they bandaged it. Then the doctor asked this Ramana Maharshi, Sage Rabana, hey, didn't you feel the pain? He said, then his answer is really very shocking to me. He says that, sir, to the doctor he's saying, sir, when you are operating on the patient, are you feeling the pain? Doctor said, no, I'm not feeling the pain. He said, same thing with me. You're only operating my body. I am not the body. So where is pain for me? See, to talk about it is one thing, that I am not the body, I am not the mind, I am the Atma, I am the soul. To say is one thing, but when it comes to it, can we practice it? That is exact. And Saint Francis did exactly this. He was blind. In the last stages, he was blind. And then he just had so much pain, every part of his body was paining, he couldn't even get up, he just used to lie down. But he never prayed to God for healing. Never prayed to God for healing, because he said that is God's will. I mean, that is the amazing part. And in those last days, God actually again spoke to him, and God told him the following. He said, Francis, rejoice and be happy. By merit of your patience and long suffering, you can be sure and secure that you are in my kingdom. So just by having such patience and tolerance during all this time, without even asking for Lord's help, God was pleased. And he said, now I'm giving you my kingdom. You have earned the merit to enter my kingdom. So even until the last minute, he has practiced exactly what he taught. And I know we are just out of time. Actually, I'm beyond 10 minutes. So I will just end the talk by saying, so Francis basically followed God's word to the last word. Practicing. Okay? And he was very stubborn in following God's command. He was very stubborn. In fact, once many of his friars, obviously, see, if you have to live in absolute poverty, they couldn't handle this. So they came and said, no, I think you have to moderate. See, you should be moderate, not be so much, right? And then immediately he comes to the podium and he says, God gave me this message that this is how I should live. If you do not want to follow this, it's up to you. But I'm going to follow whatever God told me, I'm going to follow it. So he was really stubborn in following God's command. And his message to everybody is, Listen to the God who is speaking to us in the depth of our souls. That was his message. So I think with this, and his message was live simple life, treat all beings with reverence because they're all God's creation. So live God, love God, be God. Thank you.